Krishna, everybody. Happy Ram Navami. Jai Shri Ram, Sitaram, Lakshman, Hanuman. The following is an interview with Prahlad. Prahlad is a Mridanga harmonium Kirtan teacher who lived in Mayapur for over 17 years. Now he lives in Alachua, where I met him last year. Perhaps you've seen him already in some of my videos. He teaches online on YouTube and through live personal sessions. You can find more information on his website. I'm going to link it down below, and his YouTube channel. Recently, one of his videos on his YouTube channel got a lot of attention. It's a video of him unpacking the Madhura Mridanga. This Mridanga is essentially a vegan, non-violent Ahimsa Mridanga, and the project itself is very interesting, and I thought to invite him to speak about this topic of Ahimsa and Kirtan, because I think it's a very important topic which is somewhat, I feel, not explored enough in the Kirtan community. I hope you also find it important, and please share and like to share the awareness around this important topic.
So I first actually heard about the concept of Ahimsa Mridanga from a friend of mine who did a lot of research into this, and he was looking into getting the Ahimsa Mridanga. So Ahimsa essentially means non-violence. So the concept is to, try to live in such a way where you don't cause unnecessary pain and suffering to other living entities, other creatures. And so usually it's like you won't kill other animals unnecessarily. So like an Ahimsa Mridanga would be one that if you have leather on the drum, it would come from an animal that died naturally. So that would be an Ahimsa Mridanga. And the thing is that because Kirtan has been growing and it's become somewhat commercial, usually the people who supply the Mridangas or make the Mridangas, they themselves are not practicing bhakti yoga. They're not really, they themselves might not be vegetarian. So they don't care so much about whether a Mridanga is Ahimsa or not. So they, because they're trying to meet the demand, so they'll just get leather that's the best quality, which comes from cows that were slaughtered. And they say, there's actually an interview on Facebook, one devotee left, Bharat Chandra Prabhu, posted on Facebook, and he's interviewing one of these guys who's been doing it for many generations. And the guy talks about how, what they do is they'll find a cow that doesn't have any scars on its body, and then they'll wait for it to get slaughtered and then take the leather. And so then you're going to get the best quality leather. And he said, people want a Mridanga that's going to last a long time, that's not going to break, that's really good quality, and they want a large number of them. They want they'll make an order for 500 Mridangas. And he said there's no way they're going to supply that. If it was an Ahimsa Mridanga, they would wait for a cow to die naturally. Oftentimes they will find the animal floating down the river in the Ganges, and then they will take it and skin it, but you're going to get leather that has been sitting in water for maybe a week or so, and so it's not going to be that good quality. The Mridanga is going to break sooner, and so they're just trying to meet that demand and meet the expectation of people who are paying them. And so then that's a bit of a problem, because within our bhakti tradition we believe in Ahimsa, we believe in non-violence, and we don't want to bring that into Kirtan. So, it's an unfortunate situation, and it's very hard to find Ahimsa Mridanga. So my friend actually wanted to, his name is Lakshmipati Das from Mayapur, he wanted to start making Ahimsa Mridangas, and he did. He found ways to get the skin and verify that it came from a cow who died naturally, and it took a lot of work. And so, of course, he was charging more for the Mridangas, like more than twice. It was 2.5 times the price of a normal drum, but people were willing to pay for it because they knew it was Ahimsa, and he found a good manufacturer. They were a little more fragile. They would break a little more easily, so you had to be careful with them. Then what happened was that everyone they're like, oh, he's making so much money doing this, so they all started claiming that their drums were Ahimsa and making their drums. He had like a special color scheme that he used. It was like his brand color, so that you could distinguish the Ahimsa. So then everybody just started doing the same thing, And you know, in India, there's no control like that. You can't have like any kind of patent on something. So, you know, he couldn't basically
Yeah,
he
people
couldn't
really took advantage of that as a trademark.
yeah, he couldn't sustain it, and so then he just stopped. He stopped doing it. He said, I can't sustain it anymore. So as of now, it's very hard to find Ahimsa Mridangas. I've heard from someone that his Mridanga teacher knows a Mridanga maker that does make Ahimsa Mridangas, but again, it's very hard to find. I do personally know someone in Ukraine, a devotee practitioner of Bhakti Yoga, who sells Ahimsa Mridangas. He calls them the indestructible Mridanga. He only uses leather on the drum heads, and then the straps of the Mridanga he makes with I think it's like some kind of nylon.
Yeah, I think that's the other Mridanga that you can see on the video. I think of your student
exactly.
comparing them.
Yeah, so that is an Ahimsa Mridanga, and yeah, again, you're going to pay a little bit more because he lives in Europe and he makes them in Europe. But, you know, I think it's worth it. Now, the Madhura Mridanga, the one that I was unboxing in that video I have on my channel, it's fully synthetic. They have fiberglass, and then there's plastic, some metal screws on the side to hold the drum head down, and then the drum heads are made out of vinyl material. And it's very interesting because the sound you get on it is very similar to an actual clay and leather drum. And you can actually make some sounds on it that might even be a little bit better than a clay drum. You get a little more resonance when you play the chutki, people call the nuk. It resonates a little bit longer. And yeah, so maybe I can show you that in a little bit after a conversation.
Yeah, that would be great to hear a sample after. And just like to unpack everything that you mentioned, it's really interesting because like you said, Kirtan culture is growing, not just Hare Krishnas, not just people in ISKCON or in like Bhakti institutions, people are like really catching up, and which is wonderful. Yeah. We all are happy for that. Krishna is happy for that. Lord Chaitanya is very, very moved, I'm sure. However, at the same time, the demand and the commercialization of Kirtan creates a weird situation, which I sense from this gap, like I was mentioning. Like from one side, yes, there is a demand for high quality instrument in low cost, and that creates this industry, which there is violence there. We cannot. It's very, like, for me, it's painful, like, to close the eyes now and say, like, okay, we're doing kirtan and it's all sacred. But yeah, there are animals and human beings who are, paying the price for that. And the example of the devotee that you mentioned from India, who made an attempt to create a Ahimsa culture, a conscious way of producing the important kirtan instruments, was unfortunately stolen. And perhaps I can share also that interview with the Wallas that you mentioned about the differences in the pricing and the quality. And yeah, it seems that to me it sounds like this product of the Madhura Mridanga now puts it on a completely different level of battling with the market, instead of figuring out a way to get the more conscious type of leather, which in one sense I would say, and tell me what do you think about it, but I'm thinking maybe devotees, they can produce independently, like a leather from a cow that they know, which was not slaughtered, and produce, let's say, a mridanga in a more like individual basis, rather than make it commercialized and industry-like, because it seems that this is what really makes the violent part of that creating the industry. And like there are no factories, right? Prabhupada explains how there are no factories in the spiritual world, and this is the toxic part about it, that Kirtan creates this, again, factory culture. And perhaps instead of doing that in a factory way, we can all individually get the leather if we want to. But even if we do in a large consumption product, It can be purely non-violent, like the Madhura, which is actually, like you expressed to me many times, it's even better than the like leather Mridanga in its quality.
Yeah, I mean, in some ways, you can get some, like, say if you get a really good clay and leather mridanga, it's gonna sound amazing. The problem is you won't get that sound consistently because the drum changes with the weather. You know, if it rains, it's gonna be too low, or you know, if it's really dry, the drum head often gets too high.
Yeah.
And constantly you have to put water on it, but then that damages the leather. There are other methods where you can put it over the bucket, which I've sometimes done.
I've seen your videos about that.
Yeah, and that helps. But then, you know, it doesn't last. It will be good for 2 hours and then it'll change back. And so it's a bit of a hassle. You know, you can't always rely on it. And then if it's too low, you either need to put it in front of a heater or above a flame and heat it up for a little bit, and then you play it for a while and it goes down again. So it's a constant thing that is a problem. You know, just playing those drums, the clay drums, and they don't last as long, you know, because it's leather, the leather stretches out, it might break, and then you need to get something replaced.
It really sounds like a perfect product for like industry, because it's gonna break and you're gonna need more, and the demand gonna go higher and the price needs to, you know, like, but it creates a very unfortunate situation.
Yeah, and especially if people are living in the West, you don't get people that can repair them very easily. You don't, you know, unless you go to India. So it's like,
or if you live in Alachua.
If you want a clay drum that sounds good, you constantly have to buy new ones, and you can't really get them repaired. So then you're stuck with old drums, unless you have someone. I mean, here in Alachua, there are a couple people that actually will repair those drums, but again, you know, it's difficult.
And it really like sounds like this is something like a more local product. Like I can see like so many like jobs created in a healthy, non-toxic way. Like God's gift, like the cow itself, she can be utilized in a healthy way, in a non-violent way, if it's local. Because it sounds like if we put it again into this, you know, like we have like made in China and like made in India, it becomes a very dangerous thing, because we have no idea which consciousness was there and what is really happening behind the nice fleshy website.
Right. Yeah. And again, you know,
which might even say Ahimsa, right?
Yeah,
that's I think also an important part.
To make a good clay and leather drum. It takes a lot of skill, and these guys have been doing it for generations. They're very good at it. But in order to do that, like I said, I only know one person that's doing it in Ukraine, and like he makes sure he gets the leather himself. He does everything himself from scratch, and he makes these drums. But he only uses leather on the drum head, so it sounds like a traditional drum, but it's Ahimsa. It comes from cows that died naturally. And you know, it sounds very close to the traditional drum, but he uses a fiberglass body so that it's going to last longer, it won't break. So I think that's you know, the best option if you want to get a leather drum. But I think everyone who is a Mridanga player and they need something that they can count on, that's reliable, that is very durable, it's a good idea to get one of these Madhura Mridangas. If you go on Harinam, if you go on Rath Yatra, and you want to play a long time and you don't have to worry about it raining, you get one of these drums, it can rain and nothing's going to happen because it's all synthetic. That's another thing. With the,
it sounds much more practical.
Go ahead.
It sounds much more practical.
Yeah, definitely, especially here in the West.
And the tuning also, that's like a new feature that the Balaram Mridangas, the regular fiberglass Mridangas, like you have to like open up the head and tune it, and it takes so much time. And you can tune it on the go pretty much, right?
Yeah. I mean, once you have it tuned, should I show you now?
Please,
just pull up the drum here. Once you have it tuned, it lasts a long time. I'm going to make another video on how to tune this, so I put the numbers on it already. The basic idea is that, like, say you have the number 1 here, and then on the other side, I have the same number 1, and then here's 2, and then you go to the opposite side 2, and then 3, and then you go to the opposite side 3. So those screws, you have to tune them together. So you want to get the same pitch in that one spot. If you want to tighten it, you tighten both sides kind of equally, and you go around the drum and do that, tightening both sides equally. And what I did with this, because you have the screws, you can make very minute changes, and it's very easy. Whereas like with the clay drums, you have to hit the top, you know, after you've pulled the straps and tightened it, and then you try to tune it. You can only raise the pitch. You can't really lower the pitch. With this, you can raise it and lower it. You can make very minute changes. So what I did is I tuned it around so that on each part is exactly the same pitch. And it makes quite a difference with the sound. So later on, I'm going to make another video where I tune this and I put it out of tune on intentionally, and then you can see the difference in sound when it's not tuned correctly. And then when we tune it, how much louder and cleaner the sound comes out, or the sound is produced. So yeah, that's something that I really like. And another thing is that you can tune both sides independently. So you can take the big side, make it really low, and the small side high. That's something that's very hard to do with the clay drums. So that's another thing I like about this. And you can see again, I numbered it. So I try to get this as low as possible, and then just, you know, raise the pitch a little bit so that the screws are tight enough so they don't fall off. So then we have a nice deep sound here. And you can do this slide, which is very hard to do on other like synthetic drums like the Madhura, or I mean the Tilak Mridanga or the Balar Mridanga. It's very hard to do the sliding sounds because they have the rubber on the outside. Here, I don't know if it's even rubber. They have whatever they use for the bass. They have it on the inside, so that you guys still get that deep resonant sound, but then the drum head is not sticking to your hand. And I don't know what they did. They had the vinyl head, and it looks almost like they sanded the vinyl head, because you can see like little marks here. And what that does is it makes it so that your hands don't stick to it. It's not sticky. So you can slide across it. You don't need much powder, and you can make all...
That's epic.
Yeah, it's very nice. I'm very impressed. I play it all the time. Whenever I go to a Kirtan, I take this one with me, and I don't have to worry about like dropping it, breaking it, hitting it on something. Yeah, and I modified it a little bit. I changed the shape so that it almost looks like a normal Mridanga. And so I put a little foam in there in the body, makes it extra strong. It's comfortable to sit with, and then it has the shape of a regular Mridanga. So that's something.
Yeah, it sounds and it looks like a lot of thought and consciousness was put into this. And yeah, it's like about time, because I mean, when was the Tilak Mridanga produced? Was it in like 76 or something like that, right? The first.
No, the Balar Mridanga came first, and the Balar Mridanga, I think it was made even back like when Prabhupada was here, so that was like 1975, maybe 76. I don't know exactly. I don't know the history on that. The Tilak Mridanga was more recent. I remember seeing videos of it. May have been like back in 2008 or 2010, something like that. They made it. I remember seeing it. But what they didn't do is they didn't add the flap of skin. There's a flap of skin called the kartala. Some people call it the kinar, and that allows you to make this high-pitched sound. That's called chiki. A lot of people call it nuk. That's like, and so that extra flap of skin helps you do that. Tablas also have it. They didn't add that on the Tilak Mridanga. That's the problem. And again, they still had the same problem. They had the rubber on the outside, so you can't really slide very well. And then the small side was too small, so you can't make all the sounds. You can't do all the movements. It should be like the resonating head, the resonating part of the head should be about 5 fingers. This is exactly 5 fingers. You can see here. That's a traditional size based on what my teacher taught me. And so they made it just the right size. They try to make it close to the original traditional drum.
Yeah, so it's much more. You get it that it's much more like authentic of Mridanga than the regular like fiberglass Mridangas that we had like since the 70s, pretty much.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. Another thing I like about this drum compared to clay drums is with the clay drum, like the way it works is the drum head stretches out over time. So you have to have like a raised, they call it the chuck. It's the rim of the drum. It has to be raised a little bit so that over time you lower it more and more. But a lot of people, when they play, it hurts their fingers because it's this hard thing that's sticking out as you're playing, and you have to hit your fingers on it. With this, you don't need that. You don't have it there. And so it's just flat. It's actually slightly down. So you can make all the sounds easily, and you don't have like a big rim that's getting in your way as you're playing. So it's easier to play faster on this. And yeah, I'm very impressed. I mean, I'm happy with what I bought, and
I wanted to ask you, Prahlad, a philosophical question.
Sure.
Just before we get last philosophical question before we get into like a more full like presentation of the capabilities of the Madhura Mridanga. Something that I just sort of came up with that perhaps some of the viewers will put later in the comments, some questions, but the question that I thought as like perhaps like a doubt, or let's say if I do consider getting the Mridanga and not be like really conscious where am I getting it, or what type of like industry is really I'm putting myself through, thinking that by utilizing the skin, let's say, of the slaughtered cows, these cows will be benefited in one way or another. I was wondering what like would you say around that?
Yeah, the Sanskrit term I think for that is agyata sukriti. So they're doing a service unintentionally, and practitioners of bhakti yoga will be aware of this. Yeah, and so that is a concept that people sometimes utilize, and when they use these drums, they say, we can't get anything else, and we're trying to, again, in the bhakti yoga tradition, it's about non-violence, and they preach that to other people. So the more people that come to bhakti, the more people will be conscious of violence towards animals, and you are decreasing the number of people that are going to go out there and eat meat or kill an animal, and take advantage of our power over animals to enjoy whatever we can from them. So that is true, and some people, they may feel that they want a drum that's very traditional or authentic. So again, I think that it's the best option is to get something that's fully ahimsa. It doesn't come from an animal that has been slaughtered. Some people bring up the concept of something that's karma neutral. So then what they say is you would want to, like, whatever you're paying for some product, you pay that same amount to some cow protection project. So yes, you are contributing to harm that is being done to animals, but then at the same time, you're kind of nullifying it in a way by contributing to another cause that is going to help these animals. And eventually, I mean, if everybody who bought a leather drum did that, and they're like, okay, I'm going to do this, but maybe I'll donate to the people at Madhura Mridanga who are making these drums, or you donate it to a cow protection project in the community that you live in. then eventually there may become a market for fully Ahimsa drums because everyone is supporting these cow protection projects and initiatives.
Mm.
So, that is a possibility. But again, you're going to pay, if you really want to do that, you're going to pay a lot more. A lot of people, they'll buy a Mridanga here in America and they'll pay like $200-300, including shipping. And then if you want to give another $200-300 to like some project that supports cow protection, you'll spend what, $400-600. And that's, if that's the choice you want to make, I think that, I think could be justified. But again, you run into the other troubles of like, a drum that you've got to take a lot of care of and it's hard to find someone to fix it. And then, you're going to get rained on and then the drum breaks. So I think, what I recommend to all my students is to get one of these drums, synthetic drum that you can count on, that's going to be consistent and is going to last you, maybe 4 or 5 times as long as a traditional drum, but also get a traditional drum from a devotee, a Chincha Swarup Prabhu, that he makes the indestructible mridangas. So they're mostly synthetic with leather drum heads. And then you still have the feel of a traditional mridanga, and then you also have the reliability of the synthetic mridanga. And that way you can go fully Ahimsa.
Yeah.
And you don't have to contribute to people who are
Exactly.
benefiting by killing.
Yeah, and that's an important point, I think, which you highlighted, that ultimately, whatever we contract it or not, I'm paying to someone to continue doing his job as a butcher. So yeah, is it really like, is it really like, it's like, I think it's a healthy question to be in. Like, am I just utilizing the term Agyata Sukati to, I don't know, to benefit someone who's not really worthy of that? And now there are so many options, and this is like, this sounds like a very, very beautiful and sustainable option for people who want to choose to be more conscious about this, like, consciousness process that's supposed to take us back home, back to God. I think Prabhupada many times, he says, before you become Krishna conscious, you have to become conscious, right? So it's really as simple as that. And I really hope people will raise their awareness a little bit through this video and raise their consciousness. Thank you, Prabhu. Would you like to give us a sample of the?
Yeah, sure. Before I do that, I just wanted to bring up one more concept that I think really relates to this from the Bhagavad Gita, and that's they talk about how the self-realized person sees the same spirit soul within everyone's heart, on all life forms, whether they're human or male, female, whatever nationality, if they're animal or even plant. And he treats everyone with respect because he or she sees the same spirit within everyone's heart. So I think that is an important principle. We want to respect all life forms and live in such a way so that we can benefit those around us without causing unnecessary pain and suffering. And so I think it's just coming down to using our best intelligence to do that.
And it's very relatable also. Like if people, like I'm personally, in a month from now, it's a little secret, but whoever sticks to this part of the video, I mean, deserves a little prize. So a little spoiler from my own personal story, I'm going to be moving to Israel, which is like the world capital of vegan communities in the world. There's like a crazy 18, I think, rocking percentage of vegan people, and people are very conscious. Even people who are not vegan, they are conscious of what's going on in the dairy industry. So I personally always felt judged, and I see that there was a healthy part there, in the sense that, like I'm using leather, and what is really the consciousness behind that? Like, can I really put the card of Agyata Sukati? Like, these cows, they're gonna go to heaven or whatever.
Yeah.
And and now I feel like, oh, this platform, I can really help people to relate to Krishna consciousness more. Like, look, we're not just into like glorifying God, but we're into glorifying God in a conscious way that takes care, like you said, of all the living entities that are in the process.
Right. Yeah, definitely.
Otherwise, it's like, yeah, it's okay to exploit. It's for the benefit of their spiritual life. I'm going to exploit them. I don't tune into that.
Yeah, I I think that's more of an excuse.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, I don't want to put people down, but yeah, you know, there are
They deserve to be
milk
humble.
projects. I mean, if you if you want to consume milk, there are people out there that do sell Ahimsa milk. They take care of the cows, and the cows have a retirement plan.
Yeah, that's beautiful.
They're not going to get killed at the end.
Yeah, and the more there are projects like that, the more there are going to be options, and the more really our consciousness as a community, global Krishna conscious community, I think can make it more relatable to people who ultimately want to be more conscious. Maybe they don't know that they want to be Krishna conscious, but I feel like everyone in essence, they want to come to a more conscious sattvic lifestyle.
For sure. Yeah, for sure. Okay. Should I play the drum for you now?
Please.
All right, let's go. Let's go for it. Let me move my chair out of the way. And so another way I modified the drum is I added this strap here. So it's more like the traditional one where you have two sides. And that way it's very comfortable to wear like this. It's a little trick. If you're going on Harinam, you're going to walk a lot. This is actually a yoga belt that I use.
So that's your personal add to that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I modify things when I get them. So you can hear the small side, how it resonates, and the different sounds that we can make on it. So I think that pretty much covered all the sounds that you can do on a mridanga. And of course there are other sounds that you can make. You can hear, we have the open sound, closed sound, the different slides.